Good morning. Brothers and sisters, today's gospel is about love. Today we also inaugurate a major capital campaign to support and repair our church structure and to prepare our church to be a place where we and the people who follow us will experience the power of love. The words of Jesus in the gospel speak of the primary law being love of God and love of our neighbor, even as we love ourselves. In this church of Christ the King, many of us have encountered the love of God and have clarified our commitment to love God. Within the many rooms of our cathedral complex, many of us have made lifelong friends and have dedicated ourselves to the works of mercy and justice and charity, which are at the heart of our love of neighbor. In the sacred space of our church and school, many of us have realized that we are truly lovable and forgivable, that we have a mission in life which gives meaning, and that we can make a difference as we develop and use our gifts. I believe that our capital campaign is ultimately about love. Love of God, love of others, whether rich or poor, whether family or a stranger, whether insider or outsider. And I believe that our capital campaign is also about a healthy love for ourselves. Now, with all that in mind, but even more so with all that in our hearts, I believe that our capital campaign particularly focuses on our love for our Cathedral Parish and all the ways it supports and encourages us to love God, to love our neighbor, and to love ourselves. So I'd like to now introduce Katie Sheppard, our Director of Advancement, as she speaks about her faith, about her love for the cathedral, and about our capital campaign.
Good morning. I'm Katie Sheppard, and I'm privileged to serve as your Director of Advancement here at Christ the King. But before I accepted this position and entered this ministry, I was a parishioner. And today I'm going to be speaking to you as a fellow parishioner of Christ the King. In the spring of 2015, my family and I came here to Lexington to go on a house hunting mission. My husband had accepted a job here in Lexington, and so we were due to move here later on that summer. During that whirlwind trip through Lexington's neighborhoods, we attended Mass here at the cathedral. And I remember thinking, is this where my family is going to go to church? Do I feel comfortable here? Is this where Michaela, Maggie, and Molly are going to grow up? And I thought, yes, this feels right. Sitting in these pews felt comfortable. While we did not find a house that week, we did find our spiritual home. Little did we know at the time, though, that we would be accepting a fourth child into our family. And I really wish I had had that insight at that point in time, because we would have looked for houses with an extra bedroom. But I suppose one can argue that finding your spiritual home is just as important, and if not more important, than finding your physical home. Since we've moved, Maggie has made her sacrament of reconciliation and First Communion right here. Molly has started CCD, and both girls participate in Vacation Bible School, Children's Liturgy of the Word, and Totus Tuus. Michaela has enjoyed youth group and is currently preparing for confirmation. My husband and I jumped right into marriage ministry, and we made great friends right off the bat. And then came William Cullen Sheppard, who's going to be baptized right here in a few short weeks. How richly we've been blessed by God in this church. I ask you to think about how this Cathedral Parish has enriched you. What has it given back to you, the cathedral and the school? Did you attend school here? Do you send your kids here or your grandkids? Have you married in this church? Celebrated an anniversary or hope maybe one day to marry in this church? Think of the baptisms, first communions, splendor of Christmas services, midnight masses, Easter vigils, funerals, and perhaps time spent on your knees in the Adoration Chapel, pivotal times of our lives. Every time I see visitors taking pictures of the altar, the stained glass, our iconic steeple, I am reminded of how much this cathedral inspires others. Its embodiment of art and architecture are acknowledgments that Christ really is the King, and this worship space deserves to reflect that majesty. And while Christ the King belongs to everyone, we are its parishioners, are its special caretakers. As caretakers, we have a responsibility to safeguard and preserve the home that we have inherited. It's 50 years old and it's in need of some love. You really need only look up to realize this, or look to the back corner to realize this. We've got some major structural problems, and we need to know what those problems are. It is our responsibility to fix them, not the parishioner 2 pews up or 2 pews back. Early on, I had spoken with a very faithful and generous group of parishioners, and I asked them, what motivates you to give? And their answers had several commonalities. One, they believed that everything they had belonged to God. 2, they gave out of an obedience to that belief. And 3, they believed that they were blessed, more richly blessed, because of their giving. Their enthusiasm for giving was absolutely contagious. Over and over again, they emphatically said, do not apologize for asking people to give. It is what we are supposed to do. So if you contribute regularly, please pray about what you can contribute above and beyond the regular offertory. If you don't give regularly, I challenge you, just start with this campaign. I'm a cradle Catholic. The concept of giving financially to our church was not discussed. We went to church. I went to Catholic school through 12th grade, but the conversation about stewardship was missing. Let this campaign be a conversation starter in your home. Just having that conversation will make a difference. A few weekends ago, I woke up to my husband handing me a cup of coffee and a piece of paper, a pad with figures scribbled all over it. He had clearly been hard at work. And the first words out of his mouth were, I think we can give more, and let me show you where it's going to come from. We were genuinely excited about the fact that we could give more than we thought we could. This concept of giving is so countercultural, but it really is more deeply satisfying than anything, any material thing that our money could buy. And our kids, they are catching on. I asked my 14-year-old daughter, Michaela, why do we give? And this was her answer. Because God has a bigger plan for our money than we do. Need I say more? But lastly, you need to know that this campaign is truly a grassroots effort. It is not being run by an outside firm or a consulting company. It's being run for us, by us. And as a result, we're going to do a lot of things right. But we're also going to make some mistakes along the way. and I'll get back to the mistakes after you have an opportunity to watch the video. But one thing we're going to get right is ensuring that every dollar pledged will go directly to support the campaign goals. We are making every effort to be good stewards of your contributions. We will be upfront and transparent about how the money is going to be invested and in what priority. So I challenge you, friends, parishioners, and fellow caretakers, to rise to the challenge. There are 2,500 families registered to this parish, and we are going to reach out to each and every one of them by mail and by phone. We owe it to you. We owe it to the parishioners who sacrificed to build this cathedral, and we owe it to the parishioners who are going to come after us. And with that, I give you our kickoff video.
We've been blessed with a great church. It's like a temple. It's, of course, the cathedral. What's amazing sometimes is that everything's full, and there's so much activity here, which again is, I think, representative of the vibrancy of our parish. We've had some major campaigns over the last 25 years, but they've all been related to growth. Some of the aspects of the church that have been with us for the 50 years or so, they've just run their course and they need to be replaced. And that's to a great extent what we're trying to do, to help the beauty and the power of this church to be there and to be supported by the strong infrastructure that we need to address by means of the finances generated by this campaign.
I was hired as the facilities manager and came in and found a lot of problems. Well, the roof drains were leaking anytime we had a deluge or extended heavy rains. We had several leaks on the roof right at the drain areas. So we had to reline the pipes, clean them out, and then we lined them with epoxy. Behind me, as you can see, one of the drains is plugged up on the roof. We've been working on it all day long with Roto-Rooter trying to punch it out. As you can see, the brown water, that's actually mud. The mud is coming up from the ground. Well, we're doing a lot of interior damage. We're dropping tiles, we're doing a lot of insulation damage, the limestone's getting stained, and it's expensive repairs. First thing when we get up inside the bell tower is you're going to see a lot of rotted wood. A lot of structural support wood too on the sides is gone. We have options of tearing the whole tower down and replacing it, or to try to rebuild it somehow and then foam it. As you look down here, you'll see light coming through. Anytime you see light, you're going to see rain water come through as well. You can see a lot of rotted wood. Wood's actually gone. We're going to go up to the top of the very tower. Up this ladder, it's about 18 feet, and we're going to see an 8-inch column. It's a 1/4 inch thick. It goes 60 feet up into the air above the crown that holds the crucifix at the very, very top of the spindle. And you'll see where water over the years leaked through the crucifix all the way down this solid steel tube, filled up with water. Then the winter time came and it fractured it. When it froze, it busted the tube out. A heavy wind load, heavy ice load with wind could topple the spindle. And if it did, it would come through the roof. That's a lot of weight. 60 feet of steel plus leaded copper on the outside and whatever else crossways in there. There's 3 systems that we're getting ready to replace. There's the HVAC system in the basement with all the piping. There's the boiler system here. And then there's the water tower up on the roof. It's an integral system. They all communicate with each other. And the worst of the system is the boiler. All of them need to be replaced soon. The fresh air intake to the boilers is non-existent because the outside air intake louvers are sealed off. This whole air handler is over 50 years old. The hot water coils have been replaced once and they're in pretty bad shape. So it's cheaper to just replace the entire unit than to try to repair the system. With the 50-year-old system comes the original piping. 50 years old. It's had a lot of acid run through it when we lost control over the years of keeping the chemical balance right. We've had 2 leaks already with the system. One of them almost flooded this whole basement. We're up on the roof with the water tower. This guy's way past its life expectancy, but we've kept it running. It needs a lot of work. There's a lot of rotted parts and pieces inside of it. The controls are wore out. So anyways, it's due to replace as well.
I was an airball father. Don't you have a big free throw shooting contest coming up?
I got a big contest coming up with Deacon Paul, and I'll never hear the end of it not only if I don't win, but if I don't conduct myself with some level of excellence.
Right, right. So you've been practicing hard.
I've been trying, yeah. It's been a while since I played, but I was practicing the other day and working hard.
Well, have you been praying about it?
I got to get back to praying.
You got
right.
to pray about it. It's just like this capital campaign that we have coming up for Christ the King to upgrade and update all of our facilities. What do we need? $4 million? You're like our team captain. The parishioners, we're your teammates. You have to have confidence that we can all get this done together. I know that we can, just like we can get you to make this free throw.
You're right. You know, it's just like I do a lot of times when I serve as pastor here. I offer some good encouragement and some good wisdom, and you've just given me good encouragement and good wisdom. I'm gonna take it to the Lord.
Well, I have confidence in you, Father, and I have so much confidence that if you'll make this free throw, Jenna and I are going to pledge $250,000 in matching funds for the parish and our capital campaign. So if you'll make this free throw, that's what we're going to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You can do it, Father. High five, Father! The ball is in our court now, Christ the King. We're all in this together, so let's support the team. Give to the capital campaign, let's leave it all on the court, and let's make our goal of raising $4 million.
I really believe that when we give, and when we give deeply, and sometimes even more deeply than we thought we could have or should have done, that we're just, when it's all said and done, we're opening a door for special blessings. If there is something that you needed to do in a major way at your home, would you hesitate? Would you even be open to doing something that would change your budget some? As we serve your children, as we serve your children's children and beyond, as we serve people who come from other parts of the country and in fact even other parts of the world, that our cathedral and our parish church will be a place where people can meet the Lord, and that we'll be able to be solid as we move forward.
So I had mentioned earlier that we're not paying anyone to run this campaign for us. And as evidence of that, I had inadvertently added an E to the end of Coach Mitchell's name in the bulletin. So Coach, if you're here this morning, sorry. I totally own that. And in the question and answer section in the bulletin, I also need to clarify that we actually added $13,700 to the reserve. It states that we have $13,700 in the maintenance reserve. As of last month, we actually have $481,604 in the maintenance reserve, which represents 2.5 times what we spent on property-related maintenance last year. I am sure these are not going to be the last clarifications we're going to need to make. But the takeaway is the fact that we will always clearly communicate with you, and we will make those corrections. Thank you for your incredible generosity. One need only look at our second collections to see that. We are looking for 100% participation in this campaign. Our goal to raise $4 million is really somewhat ancillary to the goal as coming together as a community of believers to accomplish it. So please pray, not about whether to give, but really about how much to give. Sit down with your families and discuss it. Teach your children by example, whether they're 5 or 35. The bulletin lays out the various ways you can make your pledge, and I invite you this morning to come to an information session after the 9 o'clock Mass in Heman Hall. I thank you for your attention, and I look forward to advancing the mission of the Cathedral of Christ the King and Christ the King School. And I will be available outside of Heman Hall after Mass if you have further questions. Thank you.